All right, we're back. Graveyard Shift Movie Podcast. He's asleep.
Oh, sorry, what?
Ep- Episode
Should
number
I got a drink?
131. And this week, it's finally happening after we watched it a month ago, and we were supposed to do it, but we're here. We're doing it. Cult of Chucky, from 2017, I think. Yeah, 2017. Cult of Chucky is the last movie that like the original people involved with making Chucky are involved in, like Don Mancini, who wrote and did everything for it, created Chucky. Brad Dourif being the voice of Chucky. This would be the last movie that they're involved in, and then obviously they make a TV show. But yeah, this was the last thing they did, and then they made the remake, I guess you can call it that, in 2019 or whatever. That a whole bunch of controversy is around.
Let's just say that.
Yeah. Okay.
That remake isn't even. Anyways, we'll wait until we watch the remake.
Yeah. In 2 months when we
go over there,
get to the remake. But yeah, so I had to watch it again. I think this is the first time that I told Tyler, I was like, I'm gonna have to watch it again. It's been too long, so I did watch it again. I will admit, I was like on my phone most of the time, and I would look up and be like, okay, what? But I watched it again. I'm gonna give it a 3.5. Because I don't think it's as bad as Bride of Chucky was. But it's pretty bad. I did not like it at all. I don't know. It just felt like I was watching it the second time. It seemed to go by quicker, but maybe that's because I knew everything and I was looking at my phone most of the time. But Tyler told me too when he was watching it. He was like, "This thing's." Oh, Tyler's getting. Oh, that's an alarm.
No, it's work call.
Oh, he's out of here. We're not scrap it all. We're not doing it this week.
No, I sent it to voicemail.
Okay.
I'll call him back.
But Tyler told me when he was watching, he was like, "I'm like 30 minutes in. It feels like it's been like an hour," and I'm like, "Yeah, I know. I watched it twice." But yeah, I'm gonna give it a 3.5. Not a big fan of this one, which upsets me because if you remember way back when we did Curse, I really liked Curse. I think I put Curse as like the third best movie of the series, and then they went down the toilet with this one, in my opinion. So, Tyler, what is your thoughts on Cult of Chucky?
I may have watched the other one.
You didn't.
Curse of Chucky.
You would have gotten me, but you were telling me stuff that was happening in Cult. So
no, wrong movie.
Yeah.
As far as Chucky films go, this one's pretty good. I'm gonna give it like a 5.
Yeah.
Because it added new stuff, and the best part about Chucky is needing more Chucky. So it was pretty good. There were some scenes that I would cut out for sure that had no fucking point in being in the movie at all.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a solid 45-minute movie in this movie. I'm just gonna start re-editing shit and putting it out, and we call it like the real version.
Yeah, are you saying that the real version starts when they bring the third Chucky alive, and that's when the real movie? Well, that's like the end of the movie. Never mind. Sorry.
No spoilers. God damn, you didn't do a spoiler alert or nothing.
I don't fucking care.
What?
We're breaking the rules now, man. Yeah.
That's one of the reasons I didn't go into the parts I would cut. But yeah, there's definitely shit in this movie that doesn't need to be there. But like overall, I think the premise is good, right? Like it's a classic, insane asylum.
It's
where
always
no one's gonna believe.
Yeah. It's the perfect place for no one believing whatever you say. Even though, to be fair, I mean, it's not like any other Chucky movie anyone's ever believed when someone goes, "Oh yeah, this doll, he's killing people." But in case you really didn't want to believe people, put them in a insane asylum. Or as Chucky says at one point when he's walking through, he's like, "This place is a fucking cuckoo's nest," and I was like, "Haha," because he was in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, but that was that was pretty funny.
I don't think he wrote that himself, but yeah.
No, he wrote it. He also has a line in here that made me think of you. That he's talking about like he does like a joke about Hannibal Lecter, and then he's like, "I can't believe they canceled that show."
I love that show so much.
Yeah.
When he said that, I was like, oh.
Yeah.
So
I think I don't remember if it was just an episode or if he was in, but Don Mancini like was involved in that show, and so that was like partly him too, being like, "Fuck, can't believe they canceled it." But anyway. All right. Well, also when you were like, as a Chucky movie goes, this is pretty good. I knew it wasn't gonna be a high score because we've been.
I still give it a 5. Like, yeah, I still went low, right? What'd I give it? I forgot already.
5. Yep.
Oh, I meant to say 4, but 5 is fine.
Okay. All right. Well,
there's just so many ways you can see a doll kill somebody, and like one of the kills in this, I didn't completely buy into. But
one of the kills is a rehash of a kill that's a couple kills are rehashes.
It's the same kill.
But I think it's done better in this movie, but it's a total rehash of, once again, it was in Bride of Chucky, the worst Chucky movie. But we'll get to that when we come across it. So hey, spoiler warning for Cult of Chucky. If you've never seen it, we're gonna ruin everything about it. So you've been warned. First off, the movie starts off with the return of Tyler's favorite character, Andy Barclay. Which, he's much older now. Has his acting ability improved at all, Tyler?
No. No, and God bless this movie for hiring him, because it's the only way he's getting paid.
I gotta tell you, you really didn't like him in the 2 Chuckies he was in, and I was like, he's great, or whatever. But boy, his acting ability is not like it works fine when he's a 7-year-old kid or whatever, but when he's adult and he's like, it's fun to spend a Friday night with your friends with the blowtorch or whatever, I was like, oh, never mind. Yeah, and he's not a great actor. Which, I mean, to be fair on his part, I don't think he is an actor. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure like he did Child's Play, and then he might have done like 1 or 2 more things, and then he just stopped forever. And he did other shit, and then they were like, "Hey, you want to come be in Chucky again?" He was like, "Yeah." So he's not an actor. Secondly, you watched through the credits and were like, "There's no after credit scene," and I did as well.
No, I didn't.
Oh, you didn't? Yeah, because you were like, you didn't tell me. Upon the second watch, I watched the credits this time too, because I swear there's an after credit scene of Kyle, the military stepsister lady, like going and finding something, and I swear I've seen that on YouTube before, and so unless I fast forwarded past it and missed it, then that's my bad. But maybe it's like included in like a director's cut or something. But I think there is a version of the movie that has an after credit with Kyle coming back, because she pops up in the show. Her and Andy are like 2 hitmen for Chucky in the show. But there was no after credit scene in my version as well. So anyway, movie starts off, Tyler's favorite character, Andy. He's back, and he's on a date. He's looking for some pussy. And the
lady's way out of his league. It's not believable.
Well, listen. Andy's been through a lot. He's not afraid of taking chances, shooting his shot. But as we've seen, he can't shoot very well. That's a Child's Play 3 joke.
Don't get enough of those.
So yeah, when we come into the scene, they're in the middle of a conversation about her being like, "So, you like guns, huh?" And he's like, I don't like guns. I just have some for protection. And she sort of nods her head and she's like, right, you know? And then Andy's like, you Googled me, didn't you? And she's like, yeah. And he's like, son of a bitch. And so, to be fair, well, not to be fair, but it's fun to see Andy, because for the last couple movies, when people would ask him about his childhood, he would just make up stories like, so. But now he's just like, yeah, doll murdered my murdered my mom's friend, pushed her out the window, and, along with 17 other people throughout multiple movies, and here I am, you know. And the lady's like, all right, I think it's time we break up. And so Andy does not. I choked on my own spit just then. Did you notice that? I was in the middle, swallowed, and it almost took me out. So he leaves the date alone, lonely, and he goes back home to look at some of his guns, which apparently is like a whole wall.
Yeah,
yeah.
He's got a very impressive collection of guns.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but is it just he walks in and they're on the wall, or does he hit a button and the wall, it does like the movie where the wall spins and the guns are on the wall? You know what I'm talking about?
No, they're just constantly on the wall.
Okay, well that's, yeah.
There's no Bond issue.
I would have liked it if he hit a button, or better yet, he was like, whoo, and the wall turned. He's got a lot of guns. He doesn't just have some guns. And he walks over, as he's walking to the safe, we see like pictures of his mom and like Kyle, and I think you might even see a picture of that lady from the love interest from 3. I don't remember her fucking name. Who cares? And he goes over to a safe that he has sitting there, and he cracks it open, and inside of the safe ends up being Chucky's head from the end of Curse. If you remember at the after credits, Chucky ships himself to Andy's house, and Andy's like, suck on this or whatever. What does he say? You sent it to me in the group chat.
I don't remember now.
Oh, play with this?
I'll look.
Okay, he's looking.
No, is come and get it? I don't know. It was bad. It was
it wasn't great.
Play with this.
Okay, there you go. So he pulls out Chucky's head, and he's kept him alive, and he's kept just his head on this thing, and you see like he has nails like hammered into his head. You see where the shotgun shot him in the head and everything. And he sits down and he like lights up a joint, and then Chucky's like, let me get a hit off of that. And he lets him take a hit off of that, but like Chucky doesn't have lungs. Like, I know it's stupid to be like, try to make this, physically possible when we're watching a doll head, talk to, but he doesn't, so he's just like sucking it through his throat. Like, that's not how that works. And, anyway, but Andy lets him have the joint, and then Chucky's like, tries to bite his finger. And Andy's like, you son of a bitch. And so he's like, you want to play, huh? And so he goes and he gets a blowtorch, which, as we've seen throughout these movies, the only thing that Chucky really doesn't like is fire. He hates fire. And so Andy goes over and he's like, and he burns him with fire. And that's the beginning of the movie. We get our title card, and we get our opening credits. And after the credits, we come to Nika, who is still in a mental asylum after Curse of Chucky, which she was found guilty for murdering all those people in that house. Voice. And and they made up this whole thing how she was crazy and said it was
schizophrenic.
Yeah, and so they're giving her electroshock therapy. And as we get a bunch of scenes of her like getting zapped and her getting loaded up in like a bus, and overlaid on top of it is her talking to like her head therapist or something, who I thought that was just what he was. Like, he was the head therapist. and he's like, "Oh, your progression's coming really good. We're gonna switch you to this other hospital, which is a medium security hospital or something, so you can have more freedom." But it ends up being like that guy runs that place too, so I guess he just runs both of the. Like I don't really know his position, but he's high up there in the mental asylum food chain. Um,
It was weird because he was at the other hospital and then he's at this hospital, but he's like in charge at this hospital.
yeah, yeah,
So it's like, what? It's like,
yeah.
you're no fucking Loomis. Get out of here.
Yeah, who the fuck do
So
you think you are? Also, as I saw this guy, I was the whole time I was watching him, I was like, man, he really reminds me of Ryan Haywood for some reason. And then and then later on,
more and more, he's kept
yeah.
reminding you.
And I was like, did they get Ryan Haywood for this movie? um but yeah, and so he's like, "Oh, we're going to switch you to the medium security prison." But Nika's like, "Why? I'm a murderer," and she's trying to talk him out of it. And this is all because, while she's in this high security, cameras everywhere, she's safe. Chucky can't get to her. Like, that was the whole thing at the end of Curse, where she was like in the wheelchair going by, and she was like, "You can't get me. I'm still alive, bitch." And but now they're shipping her off to this, more loose. There's less cameras. When she ends up getting there, we see there's not cameras in like the bedrooms or anything. So it's a lot easier for Chuck to get to her.
Is that a problem? Cameras, I guess, because it would show a doll running around.
Yeah, even though, yeah, yeah, which I
So will the next Chucky movie be Amish or something because there's no cameras? It's
yeah,
the only place left that don't have
it's
cameras.
the only place left for him to murder is the Amish. Um, so yeah, so she's fighting against it, but the guy's like, "No, this is gonna be good for you." So she gets shipped off to this new place. Her first day there, she's introduced to this nurse who he's being nice to her, but he's like, we're not friends. I'm just trying to get you put in place or whatever. And then he's like, "Oh, did you have an accident?" Because Nika's fucking cripple. Um, and she's like, "Nah, I was born like this." And so the guy's like, "Ah, my husband has fucking
MS.
MS. So I know what you're going through or whatever." And I was like, "All right, cool, but still seemed like you were being like, I always like where it's like, oh, you're a murderer, but you have a disability, so I feel bad for you. You know what I mean?" Let's not
How
get
many
on this.
disabled murderers do you know?
I don't know. That fucking Olympic guy with the no legs killed his girlfriend. Look at that one.
Pistorius, I think his name was.
Yeah, I don't know. I just remember he's the guy that inspired the little Tink Tink joke that Cat Williams used to tell. So Nika gets moved in. Her friend, she goes to the cafeteria. She's like coming around, and she bumps into this random woman who's like, "Can you see me?" And Nika's like, "Yeah," and she's like, "Oh, good." And we'll learn later that this woman's like schizophrenic and she sees people. So I guess anybody knew. She just asked them if they can see her. And she's trying to talk to Nika, just crazy shit. And then the first of this movie's, it seems like mini cheap jump scares that I'm not used to in Chucky movies. It doesn't seem like Chucky movies are full of cheap jump scares. But this dude just jumps up next to her and he's like, "Hey, you should leave, go be crazy somewhere else." And so he ushers her away, and we're introduced to him, and he tells her that, what does he tell her his name is when he meets her? Or does he even tell her?
I think it's a Mark. It's always a Mark.
Okay. Yeah.
Because it's Mark. Because Michael. It's always an M name. Malcolm.
Well, his real name is Malcolm. Yeah. But
like he was,
I think
Michael Phelps, and then he was Mark, the Facebook guy. God.
That's what he's Mike. He's Mike the first time, because later when she goes to talk to him, he's like, "Oh, Mike's gone. He's in the pool practicing," and that's when we learn that like his multiple
Oh, yeah.
personality is like famous people. Yeah, and then Mark, fuck, what is that Facebook guy's name? Zuckerberg. You want to know how I remembered that? Because I was like, there was something where they were rhyming it with the suck. and I was like, oh yeah, suck for Zuck. Um, so, uh, so Michael is talking to her, and he's like, hey, I heard, this whole stuff about Chucky, and and so that's pretty crazy. And she's like, yeah. And then the guy goes, so, do you still have a thing for redheads? And
It was.
that was my favorite joke in the whole the whole movie. And Nika just kind of looks at him like, what the fuck did you just say to me? And he's like, my bad. And then Nika's like, hey, that cigarette you have, I'll trade you this piece of gum for the cigarette. And the guy's like, okay. And then he takes the gum and he's chewing it and he's like, juicy fruit. And she's like, yeah. And he's like, yeah. And then they're like, wheelchair sex.
Yeah, immediately fucking. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, very weird.
Like, I must have misread everything in this. This is a part of the movie that I think could have just been cut out completely.
Yeah, the weird thing, I had the question because they talk about when they're zapping her, they go, yeah, she's a pin cushion from the waist below. So I was like, can she feel any of this going on? Some people have the feeling there, but some people, and I was like, because it looked like she was into it, and I imagine she wouldn't be if it was just nothing.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, the first movie, she had that thing with like the delivery guy where she was like trying to go on a date with him and the mom, and the mom wouldn't let him. And I don't know if they tell you how long it's been since the last movie ended. So I give like the benefit of being like, when fucking guys come out of prison, they're like, time to fuck, and they just it's like her first timer. I don't know. I think if I remember correctly too, it's the only sex scene in, well, besides the Chucky and Tiffany sex scene in Seed of Chucky. Or no, they bang in Bride. Seed's just when she shows him the titties and he's jerking off in a cup. What a movie. Seed of Chucky. Yeah, so anyway, yeah, they bang in the wheelchair. And I was like, all right, that's pretty cool, So after that, Nika gets told that she has a visitor. And she's like, oh, who the fuck could be visiting me? And she walks in, and sitting in the visitor room is Jennifer Tilly, who they introduce her as Tiffany.
Oh, no, you're skipping a whole section there, bud.
I know I am. But there's a reason.
Oh, okay.
Well, go. I just didn't think it was worth including.
It's where the doll comes from.
No,
they have the group therapy before this.
No, because
and they pull out the doll, and then the lady runs off with it, and then later on, the guy's like, "Where'd the second one come from?" And they're like, "Alice brought it, or whatever. Tiffany brought it."
Yeah, but I thought that's when she gets the doll.
That's the second doll.
Is it the second doll?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, to be fair, you did just watch this movie, and I kind of just skimmed through it again. so I'll give you the benefit of the doubt.
The only thing you need to include is that a therapist throws, they have that group best session. Therapist brings out the doll. Yeah. And for no reason.
Every time really, we have a therapy thing where these people have these issues, they're like, here's the doll that you blame for all your trauma. And I guess that's something people do in real life. Like you have to, attack whatever but it always seems so weird that they're like, yeah, that's the cause of all my problems. Here, now you have to look at, look at it.
So when I finally get caught, I'm gonna be like, titties made me do it. So then therapy, the guy's like, here's some titties. I'm like, no, never. It's like my face is attracted to them.
Yeah. That's also what we're introduced to in that therapy scene. So there's the one lady who the guy pulls out the Chucky doll, and this one lady's like, "Ah, my baby," and she just takes it, and now this Chucky doll is her kid throughout the whole movie. Um, what is the deal with the Asian lady who doesn't want to be on the same floor with Nika because she's a murderer, all that
She
stuff. What is
burned her
her
house
disease?
down, but her family wasn't there.
Oh,
So maybe she's a pyromaniac. I don't know.
yeah, I could never because she
I
always
never.
she always
Yeah.
seemed the most normal out of all of them.
Maybe a hypochondriac. She's afraid of everything. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. Either way, I guess she's fucking crazy because she's here. So, so who knows? All right, yeah. So yeah, they have that therapy session. They bring out the doll, and then this lady gets it, and she's like, "Oh, my baby." Uh, so yeah, so then they have a visitor. She goes, "It's Jennifer Tilly," and they introduce her as Tiffany Valentine. But then Nika says, like, "Hey, has anyone ever told you you look like, Jennifer Tilly?" And she's like, "Yeah, all the time." But the weird thing is like, this is Jennifer Tilly because Bride or Seed of Chucky, Tiffany stole Jennifer Tilly's body, and at the end of Seed of Chucky, she was acting as Jennifer Tilly having a birthday party for her kids or whatever. So it's like, does she, maybe it's the hair color, because in the Chucky show she goes back to being Jennifer Tilly again. She like goes to a like an opening of a movie theater, and she's like, "Oh, I'm Jennifer Tilly," and she's so maybe it's when she has black hair it's Jennifer Tilly and blonde hair she's Tiffany, or she just switches in between. I don't know, but yeah, she's playing Tiffany right now, and she's like, "Hey, I wanted you to know, your niece's grandma is dead." That's the first thing she says when she comes in. She's like, "Yeah, she was murdered, and your niece also dead." Like, just dropped the bomb on her that the niece was murdered as well. Um, and I think if I remember, like, Tiffany says that when the grandma died, the niece came to stay with her, so she was the guardian for the niece for a little bit.
Why though? How would that ever happen?
Who knows? The same way that Chucky was looking for Andy in 2, and he just called up the adoption line and was like, "Hey, what is Andy Barclay?"
That I can kind of see because that's
Yeah.
like a little bit like because that's all private eyes do. They just call people and pretend they're someone they're not, and then
Hey, private eyes.
are watching you.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, no. Anyways,
Anyways,
but like the fact that this lady who has she's not even from the same state, not a family member, nothing,
yeah,
and they're like, "Hey, you want this kid?" And she's like, "Yeah,
yeah.
sure, I'll take."
And once again, this is Jennifer Tilly. No matter if she's saying she's Tiffany Valentine, this is Jennifer Tilly. Jennifer Tilly exists in this universe, and that's her. Like,
She gets that a lot.
you know.
Makes no sense. This whole movie's weird.
So yeah, so she's like, "Oh yeah, your niece is dead. She wanted you to have this." Bam, another Chucky doll, and the lady's like, thanks, I guess." Yeah, and so she has this other Chucky doll now. So they go. Do they have another? Because now and after this, I have written in my notes. Oh, by the way, I have to mention that when she pulls out the Chucky doll, it does the "Hi, I'm Chucky," and they've changed the voice once again, and this is by far the worst Chucky voice out of all of them previously, with the actual "Hi, I'm Chucky. Want to play?" I hate it. I hate it in this movie. So now now they go to a therapy session again. And this is when that creepy lady who's schizophrenic says that Nika's gonna die because Chucky called her and said he's coming for her.
Yep.
Yeah. And Nika just starts laughing. And they're like, "You think this is funny?" And she's like, "Nah, I don't think this is funny." And then she's like, "Ha ha ha." She starts laughing again. But yeah, the weird thing also is like, so they're in the middle and she's laughing about this, and then she kind of stops for after a second, and that Asian lady goes over and comforts the schizophrenic lady who says that Chucky called her and said that, you know, she's coming for Nika. And I was like, how about you check on Nika, who, like, her whole thing is, I don't, Chucky makes me afraid, you know what I mean? Be like, yeah, but you know, whatever. um yeah, so then the therapist guy, I guess this is when he pulls out the Chucky doll that Tiffany brought, and he's like, are you scared? And she's like, no, I'm not afraid. Um, or no, see, because this is the Tiffany doll that he says he got at Hot Topic, which I laughed at when he said that, because you could always buy them at Hot Topic. They were always on the top shelf. You could always get them. Um,
My thing is, he's like, I paid a premium to get the Chucky one. And I was
yeah,
like, but you got a Hot Topic. They don't do prices like that. You just buy what they have. Like,
yeah,
there's not
yeah.
a fancy version.
Yeah, well, you could get. I bet you the version with the scars and stuff costs more than the regular doll.
I think they're cheaper because they're newer, but
Maybe. Um. Anyway, yeah, they do this the whole therapy shit, and then we go to lunch. And this is when, as they're at lunch, like the lady with the Chucky doll now is like trying to feed him, and and Chucky, like, every now and then will do the "Hi, I'm Chucky," and she's like, he's already talking, like, and Nika's looking around. She's like, this is fucking crazy. And she starts to talk to Michael. And he's like wearing a hood now. And he goes, sorry, Michael's not here. He's in the pool. And she's like, what? And this is when I think it's the lady who has the Chucky doll tells her that they call him Multiple Malcolm. Malcolm is his real name, and he has multiple personality disorder. And so Michael Phelps is, you know, one of his, and now he's Mark Zuckerberg, and so she's like, great. So I just fucked a guy who's like doesn't even exist, basically. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
she didn't even fuck the real dude. Um. So fucking all right. I'm gonna be honest. I messed this all up. My notes, they got me, Tyler. All that shit about Jennifer Tilly and stuff, take that out. The therapy session Tyler talked about is what was written in my notes, but something got misconstrued in there. After this lunch, listen, man, I didn't pay attention to this movie, okay? It was a long time ago. After the lunch is when she goes and talks to Jennifer Tilly, and that's when Jennifer Tilly tells her all that stuff, and that's when she gives her the next Chucky doll. So now we're all caught up. Just flip it around the way I said it, all right? And now we're all good. So anyway, after the
we're just gonna move on.
This is a terrible podcast. We're just getting through this to get to next week, okay? After this,
You're
I like
that shirt, everything. It's just bad.
I know, yeah. I only got 2 buttons. You like this?
No one likes that.
So after the warden takes the doll that Jennifer Tilly gave them, and he's walking, and I did like the scene of him walking by the girl with the other doll, and like the 2 Chuckies looking at each other and walking. I don't know. I just like that scene. I thought it was nice. So the warden takes Chucky to his office, puts him in there. He leaves, and then as he leaves, we see Chucky at the very end, like, huh? And like, oh, Chucky's alive now. So Chucky finds a scalpel, and he's on his way to kill Nika. And as he's on the way there, he runs across the schizophrenic lady, and she's like, can you see me? And he's like, yeah, I can fucking see you. And she's like, it's okay, you're not real. And he's like, you fucking kidding me, lady? he in the middle of this, he's like, lady, I'm a mass-produced child's toy from the 80s, and you're talking to me right now. And she's like, no, I'm not. And he goes, all right, you're next. You're next. He's just fed up with this lady's shit. And he recognizes that this is the lady that he called the other. He's like, aren't you that crazy bitch that I talked to on the phone?
Are you the crazy bitch you called the other night? God damn.
Yeah, and
just ran a kickoff back for a
kickoff back.
Yeah, it was really good. He took it like 5 yards in.
man. So anyway, yeah, he's like,
Anyways,
"You're next. I'm coming back for you." And then he leaves, and he says that line about the cuckoo's nest. Um, so Chucky finally makes it to Nika's room, and when he walks in, we notice that like on the railing of her bed, there's like a wire like missing or whatever. And when he comes,
that's on the spoke of her wheelchair.
oh yeah. And as he comes around the corner, we see like a pile of blood, and he looks up, and Nika has taken one of the spokes and fucking and suicide up the. And she did it the long way. She didn't do it for the show and off. She like won the results. And so Chucky kind of stands in front of her as she's like fading out, and he's like, "Hi," And then the next morning, she wakes up and she's still alive, and that nurse brought her in breakfast, and she looks over and she sees that Chucky has sewn up her wrist. He stitched it up, and I don't remember if he wrote it in the blood or if it was just a note, but it said "not so fast," and I was like, "Oh shit." Yeah, so Chucky stopped this lady's suicide just so he could kill her himself. Well, never, I guess he has other plans, but we don't know that yet. So Nika's like, "Oh my god, I can't believe I'm still alive." And then a alarm goes off, and they're like, "What the fuck is that?" And they go running, and they run into that schizophrenic lady's room, and we see that her wrist is slit, and written in the blood, it says that Chucky did it. And based on everyone's perception of Nika and the whole Chucky situation, I was like, well, that's not going to be easy to explain. You know what I mean? Like, that Chucky didn't do her any favors in writing that. So, so that lady's dead. Everyone like goes into a therapy room where they're going to have a meeting. Before we go to that meeting, though, we go back to our favorite character, Andy, who's sitting at his table eating Fruit Loops, and he's watching a video of himself talking to that insane doctor, the head therapist dude there, and he has Chucky's head, and he's like, "Watch this," and he's like, "Bah!" And he's popping nails into his head, and Chucky's like, "Ah," and the guy's like, "Oh man, that's a cool toy," and he's like, well, "What are you talking about?" Yeah, and he doesn't believe him, which I enjoyed.
You should work in movies, and then walked off.
Yeah, which I enjoyed because I think in several movies at this point, I've asked like, what would happen if you just kept him alive, and you just showed him to people and been like, "Hey, look at this," and that's what Andy's done here. Like he's trying to show people, like, "Hey, look, this guy's alive," but they don't believe him.
Well, in Seed of Chucky, I guess that's kind of what he was doing too, right? With this kid.
Who?
He was being a ventriloquist, so he would take the kid around and like pretend it was one of the people,
Yeah, but he wasn't trying to be like, "Oh, look, this doll's alive." He was fooling people into thinking he was the Jeff Dunham of Paris or whatever the fuck they were.
England, but
yeah,
it's fun.
Whatever. So yeah, Andy watches that movie, and Chucky's like, "I guess no one believes you." And then we go back over to the insane asylum. They keep just adding like these couple second, minute long scenes with Andy to be like, this is gonna have a reason later, but we got to keep reminding you he's in the movie. So back at the prison, they're having their meeting about what happened, and the Asian lady obviously thinks that Nika killed the old lady because it said Chucky did it in the blood. But multiple personality dude is like, well, what if it's the simplest reason? What if Chucky really did do it? And they're like, yeah. And so Nika, as they're in this meeting, tells them that she figured out that the lady who brought her that Chucky doll, when she said her name was Tiffany Valentine, she remembered when she did her research that Tiffany Valentine was Charles Lee Ray's ex-girlfriend. So she's like, that lady used to date Charles Lee Ray. So they're like, give me that doll. We need to prove it. And so fair game on the doctor dude. He's like, all right, let's do it, So they go and get Chucky. And we have like a standoff where they start burning his hand and melting his hand, and Nika's just fucking just staring at his little doll eyes, and she's like, "Come on, flinch, you little bitch," you know. And the doctor stops after a second, and Nika's like, "No, keep going." And so they burn him a little bit more. And after a while, like his hand is melting. After a while, they're like, "All right," and they stop.
It melts into like a weird claw too.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, hold on. I just got an update about the Commanders. Apparently, Ron Rivera said something stupid. Let me see what this is. Hold on. Oh, he said that he didn't know we could be eliminated this week. He thought we could just lose and be all right. So, yeah, so they burn the hand. He doesn't flinch. So she's like, "All right, give me her doll, the lady who thinks it's her baby." And she's like, "Don't kill my baby." And so they don't let her take that doll, and that lady like runs out of the room with the doll and shit. Fucking after that, I don't remember where, like, they tell Nika she's not allowed to, like, leave the premises, but she needs to
she doesn't have outside, right, was it outside privileges?
Yeah, but she needs to get the girl's doll, because she's like, "That's Chucky." And so she enlists multiple personality dude. He's like, "Why don't you go outside?" But
she's chasing after multiple personality, or the baby killer, and she goes outside and runs downstairs. So the girl couldn't get to her anyways, because stairs are her arch rival. But she gets multiple man to go out.
The weird thing is, I don't remember what reason he's not allowed outside either. But she like makes a distraction for him to sneak outside or something. And so
he hacked the doctor's computer and something like that's why he wasn't allowed outside, because he was a multi-billionaire.
Yeah. So he sneaks outside to go follow this lady and try to get her doll. As this is happening, the Asian lady gets the doll that they burned its hand, and she's like, "Oh," and she's gonna throw it away. And as she goes to throw it down the garbage chute, it fucking bites her on the arm. And so she looks at it, and she's like, "Holy shit," you know? And right at that moment is when the head doctor and like some security people come around the corner. And she's like, "Nika was telling the truth. The doll is alive." And they look, and she has the bite mark on her arm. And they're like, "Oh, what did you do to yourself, you know?" And she's like, "No, it was him. You gotta believe me." But of course they don't believe her, because everyone's crazy here. So they fucking grab her, and they drag her away to some room to sedate her. We go back to Nika, who is watching the crazy lady outside, where apparently they just have a graveyard. I don't know why, but they have a graveyard. And they have an open grave, and the lady's like standing there looking at it, and then she throws Chucky into the hole. And Nika's kind of like, "What the fuck is going on?" you know? And then right about this time is when the multiple personality dude catches up, and she kind of points at the hole, and then she fucking pushes him in there. And Nika's like, "Oh shit." So it's like, "Oh, Chucky's gonna murder this dude in the fucking hole." We cut away from that, and we go to the Asian lady again, and they're tying her up in a hospital bed. And they sedate her, but they do something where instead of just sedating her where she's asleep, they're like, "Nah, we're going to give you this thing that completely paralyzes you, but you can still see and be awake." And it was like, well, I don't understand why that would be better than just putting them asleep. Like, that seems like more torture than, just being like, "Oh, you're sleeping, you'll wake up later and you'll be all right," But they're like, "We put in all this money to have this one skyline, or whatever you call it, where you can see the snow. So we got to make people stay awake so they can look at the snow coming down." So they paralyze this lady, but she's still awake.
That's got to be the worst form of fucking, and paralyzing, or pain control. Like, you're still awake, but you shouldn't be feeling anything. But if you are, not really much you can do about it other than sit there.
Yeah. Once again, I don't know what it is. So we go back to Nika, and she watches as they help the multiple personality dude out of the hole. And as he gets out of the grave, he like looks up at her and he smiles. And so somehow, I guess Nika has figured out that Chucky is switching his souls to be. So she thinks that now Chucky is inside of Malcolm. She's like, oh fuck, he switched his souls, which is how they want you to think as well. We go back to the Asian lady, and Chucky pops up next to her. Another cheap jump scare where he pops. And he's like, ah, you know, and he's got a can or a whole fucking tank of compressed air, and he's like, compressed air. Does that mean what I think it means? And so he takes the air and he smashes it on the ground, and it flies up into the roof, the glass where the snow is coming down, and it breaks and it goes slow-mo, and like we see the Asian lady, like she has like 2 tears coming out of her eyes, and then they just fucking and they decapitate her, and the glass shards just like tear her up. And then Chucky is like, sometimes I scare myself. I just like the way he delivered that line. But anyway, that's the one I was talking about, where that's a rehash of, he literally did that, or Tiffany did that in Bride of Chucky with the weird swingers couple that she threw the champagne bottle into the mirror above them and it rained down and killed them. But I think it was better done in this movie than it was in Bride of Chucky. But yeah, it kills that lady. And it kills her just in time for Nika to come around the corner and like see this lady all fucking dead and shit. Andy, we go back to Andy, and he like is looking up some shit online, and he sees the stuff about Nika being put in the hospital because of Chucky, and he's like, "Fuck, I gotta do something." So he pulls out his own good guy doll. That he shaved his head as like a military cut, and and later on we'll see he ships it to the hospital, but you don't see it for a while. Nika goes.
It's the worst haircut you've ever seen, by the way.
Yeah, Nika goes to the therapist dude, the head therapist dude, and tells him that fucking Chucky's killing all these people. And he's like, oh man, you're regressing back into your old thing. So he's like, let me hypnotize you. And so she's like, okay, you know. So he starts the light bulb and like flashing and shit. And he's like, what if I told you that we have cameras here and all of them show you killing those people? And she's like, well, it'd be kind of hard to refute evidence like that, you know. And he's like, yeah, what if I told you that you were the one that killed everyone? What would you say? And she was like, it sounds like something I do. And he's like, yeah, smooch, smooch, smooch. And he just starts making out with her. And that's when we learn that, yeah, this dude will hypnotize her. And I mean, probably rapes her. Let's be honest. He probably has had sex with her in the past. We just see him kissing her. But, you know, and so, and so that's why he kind of wants to keep her around too and convince her that, no, you're the killer, is to, keep his fucking weird handicap fuck toy around. And so he makes out with her, and after he gets done, Chucky like knocks him out with like a bottle from behind, and Chucky's like, Jesus, they called me sick, and he's like, this guy's a real fucking piece of work. And so he gives Nika like the broken bottle, and he's like, come on, kill him, Nika. But then she like wakes up in bed, right? And you think for a second like it's a nightmare.
Yeah, it was a dream or something. Yeah.
Yeah, she has a nightmare where she sees Alice, the niece lady, and then around the corner comes like a giant Chucky doll.
Which is the worst CGI,
it's terrible.
Or whatever it is you want to call it.
The only cool part about it is if you notice, and because I watched it the second time, so I noticed, if you watch the blade, in the blade, the eyes are Brad Dourif or Charles E. Ray's eyes, like reflecting in the blade, like when he was, and so that's a cool. But yeah, it looks terrible. Where he's like, like it looks so bad. And then this is when she wakes up. And somehow everything got cleaned up, and the doctor dude is still alive. And I think he says that Nika attacked him, right? Or hit him or something. Like, he's like, don't you remember? You attacked me yesterday or something. But she's like, no, I didn't. So she goes and meets up with multiple personality dude, and he says that his name is Charles now, and she's like, oh fuck, you know. Um, she she watches. Oh, this is gross. Does this happen? Apparently, Chucky. There's a scene where Nika watches as the lady takes Chucky into a room and like breastfeeds him. Did that? Apparently, that happened. Yeah, it did happen. Because later on, when Chucky's talking to the Chuckies, they're like, "You were sucking on titties all day." Like, oh, right after the breastfeed part, Thomas wrote down, "Man, this movie kind of sucks." So that's apparently the point where Thomas gave up. Um, so all right, yeah. So we go in after that lady like breastfeeds Chucky. We go into her room and she's putting Chucky to bed, and she's like, "All right, mommy loves you. Good night, pillow," and just starts smothering Chucky to death. And she kills him, or kills her fake, and it ends up being like the doctor and multiple personality dude are like behind her. And this is when we get a confession from her that she like smothered her real child in real life and stuff. Very dark information that gets brought up that has no purpose. Like, yeah, there's no reason for having this lady be a child murderer, crazy person, but they do. And they're like, you should apologize. And she looks at, and they're like, to him. And so she looks at Chucky, and she's like, what?
No, my internet went down for a minute.
Oh, no.
We're good. We're good. I could hear everything.
Yeah.
So.
She looks over at Chucky to apologize, and she's like, I'm sorry, Chucky.
Green Bay just got a pick 6, by the way.
It's not looking good. And so Chucky's like, I'm Chucky. And she's like, oh, he's alive. But now she doesn't think that he's really alive. She's like, he's just a doll. Like she isn't. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, that's weird. I forgot to mention earlier when Jennifer Tilly gave the lady the doll, she brings it into the therapy room and puts it down. And when this lady, the crazy lady, comes in with Chucky, she sits down next to the new Chucky doll, and she goes, what an ugly doll. And it's like identical to, very weird. So Andy finally shows up at the hospital, and he wants to go visit Nika, but they tell him, he's not allowed in. So he's like, well, I want to commit myself. And they're like, that's not how that works. And so he's like, he just starts punching people.
Punch, yeah.
Yeah. And I guess that gets you in because they let him go inside and they lock him up. They lock him up. We then have a fake funeral for the Chucky doll that the lady just smothered. And it's to, like, I guess, bury that part of her life, one of those things where and so they bury the Chucky doll. But then later on, Nika sees him coming up out of the grave. So he looked cool, I guess, when he came up out of the grave. We go over to the warden dude, the therapist guy, and he gets a package and ends up being the doll that Chucky had. Chucky gets up and he comes into the room where the baby lady is, and she's like, oh, baby, you're alive. And he's like, yeah. And the first time she turns around and sees him, he looks cool as fuck. It might be one of my favorite Chucky looks, where like his hair is all dirt, he's covered in dirt, and he's just like in the corner or whatever. He looked like some like Pet Sematary stuff. But she's like, oh, you're still alive. And he's like, yeah. And so he comes over and hugs her, and she's like, mother's love never dies. And Chucky's like, yeah, even when you kill it. And she's like, okay, will it hurt? And he's like, I'll try my best. And then he's like, fingers in your mouth. And he just puts his hand in her mouth. And I was like, what's going on? And I guess he like grabs her spine or something. Like, and he rips out, like, yeah, he yanks something out. And this nurse lady eventually comes in and sees her, and he yanks out something, but when the nurse comes in, we just see that she has Chucky's arm down her throat, and she's like dead. So he then just yanked his, anyway. So yeah, that lady's dead now. The
reason that Chucky just missing an arm the rest of the movie too. Like,
well, I think his arm is the one that was in the throat, and I guess they confiscated
but
it.
yeah, I was like, why would he get that back? You know, just
Yeah, seems weird. Out of all the things he could have just shoved down her throat, like why did it have to be his own extremities? The warden goes to his office because he just heard this lady's dead, and Nika's in there waiting for him. And she tells him that she didn't kill these people. Chucky did. Chucky's gonna kill him. She's gonna tell everybody what he did and shit. And he's like,
well, first off, she doesn't go there.
oh no,
Chucky takes her there.
Oh yeah, and she's in a straight jacket.
She's in the street jacket.
Yeah.
And then the therapist gets extra weird again.
He does, doesn't he? Kiss on her feet or something?
No, he breaks out a box that has a pair of high heels in it.
Yeah, that's right. He puts it. Yeah, well, yeah.
And he starts licking her feet and puts the shoes on her and shit. And I'm just like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
I never understood that. I mean, I'm not king shaming nobody.
I'm not king shaming either. Yeah, but I've never got the feet thing. I've never understood it. If you're into that, cool. I've never looked at feet and been like, fucker.
If you're into that, go ahead and leave a like or a comment, and Thomas will send you pictures of his feet.
Papa Hades, if you want it, I will send you. Harry, one of my feet has scars on it from the fucking.
Is it Papa Hades like a 14-year-old child?
I don't know. I hope not. If you are, do not make me send. Do you think you could probably send feet pictures to?
Jesus.
Yeah. So anyway, he's being extra creepy. Chucky shows up again, knocks him out. This is when he's like, I can't stand it with this guy. I don't know if I hate him or if I should take notes, And then this is when he brings up, he reminds me of Hannibal Lecter. I can't believe they canceled that show.
That's a good show. Watch Hannibal Lecter, guys.
Yeah.
You know you're going to end up having to watch it, right? Somewhere throughout this podcast, it's going to come up, and you're going to have to watch all 3 or 4 seasons of it.
Yeah.
And just see how fucking insane I am to like it. But yeah it's fun.
Yeah. Well, I watch all the movies. They're fun.
It's nothing like that.
2 out of 3 of them are good. There might have been 4 of them, actually.
Which one didn't you like?
The one that had fucking God, what's his name? We're at the end. They're he's cut off the top of his head and he's eating his brain.
Ray Liotta. I think that's
Ray
the first one.
That's the second one. That's After Silence. And
it's
then
not Red Dragon. What is it?
Red Dragon is the last one, but it's also the first one because it's a prequel to yeah. Red Dragon.
Then you have the one that
good.
came out after that, to where it's about Lecter as a kid.
Yeah, I don't think I watched that one. So I might.
It was all right. It was okay.
Yeah. Anyway, the Chuckies show up. They knock out that guy again. And then they look over at the Chucky doll that Andy sent that's on the desk, and they're like, where'd that thing come from? And Chucky's like, who cares? Wake him up. And so, all right, so he goes, all right, wake him up. And Chucky goes, okay. And he goes, Dembala, Sanamal. And that's it. He's awake. Remember when it used to be 15-minute spells that would take?
Well, he's not transferring his soul.
Yeah,
he's just waking up his soul.
Yeah, it's so he wakes him up.
Yeah.
Chucky, this is when he gives the explanation about how he found a new spell to put his soul in multiple people's bodies, and it worked really well. And he ended up he explains how at the end of Curse, we saw him doing the spell on the niece, and apparently it worked. He put his soul into her body, and he was like, it was fun being a little girl for a while, but then you realize that you get sick and you get hurt, and when you're a person, and he was like, oh, I got tired of it, so I went back to this, and then as he's explaining all this is when the nurse dude, who has the husband that has the same disease as Nika, is here, and he walks in and just sees all the 3 Chuckies, and they're like, oh fuck, what the fuck is going on? And they just immediately jump him. One of them takes a drill and is just drilling into his stomach. Another one's just slashing him. One of them cuts open his stomach and his organs pop out. And they just murder this dude. And then they immediately start talking about how fun it was to kill this guy. And my favorite line of the movie happens here, where the Andy doll goes, "Oh man, I've never felt so alive." And they're like, "Yeah, well, you've been alive for 2 minutes." And they just
all do the laugh. Yeah,
yeah,
they all do the laugh.
yeah. It was great.
He made the funniest face when I drilled him. Did you see the steam when I sliced open his guts? I never felt so alive. Yeah, well, you've been alive for like 2 minutes. Welcome to the cult, pal.
So now all three of the Chuckies they're like, they even say the thing. They're like, "Welcome to the cult, kid." And I was like, because the movie. So they're talking about who should get to kill Andy. And the one guy is like, he did this and he did this. And then the doll that Andy sent is like, excuse me, look at my hair. And they're like, "Oh, fuck, you're right, pal. Go get him. You fuck him." Yeah, so the Andy doll goes to kill Andy. After this happens, we go outside and there's a cop. And I saw a cop. And I saw a cop walking towards a car. And I said, I swear to God, if he gets in this car and Jennifer Tilly kills him from the back seat with a knife, I'm going to be pissed. And he doesn't get in the cop car. Instead, Jennifer Tilly just jumps up behind him before he gets in and does the same kill that she's done every movie that she's been in, which they keep making a joke like a classic never goes out of style. And I'm like, yes, it does. It went out of style the second time you did it. Stop doing it. Can't kill someone different. But yeah, so she kills that random cop dude. Also, when she gets into, or we see the inside of the car, in the back seat is the Tiffany doll sitting in the back seat. So it's been a while since we've seen that doll. We go back inside. Chucky tells Nika that he's not going to kill her because there's worse things than death. And then he starts doing his spell, and it works. He possesses Nika. Nika comes alive. She walks over to the doctor dude, and Chucky inside is like, "This is for Nika," and then just stomps the shit out of this dude's face to where he's just like mush. And then Nika walks outside first she goes over to the schizophrenic dude, and the schizophrenic guy is like, "Oh, I killed the nurse. I did it." And like the female nurse who found the lady with the Chucky doll, or the Chucky arm down her throat, is dead with a drill in her stomach. And Nika's like, "No, you didn't." And he's like, "Yeah, I did. I'm Charles." And Nika's like, "No, you're not. I'm Charles, but my friends call me Chucky." And this is when I guess the guy just got convinced that Charles was inside of him, but he's not really Charles. So he starts freaking out, and he's like, "I just want to be somebody. I keep hearing the voices, and I hear Charles still they're all in my head." And then this is on cue. The Chucky dolls like drill into the back of his head, out through his eye, and they kill the schizophrenic dude. The Andy, we go back over to Andy. The doll comes in and attacks Andy, and they have like a little fight where one of the dolls like the doll throws a knife in Andy's legs. But eventually Andy like grabs him by the throat and puts him against the wall and just starts digging into his stomach. And he pulls out this little pistol, which apparently this was Andy's plan, which he just put a pistol in this doll's stomach so he could get it into the hospital. And he pulls it out, and then he just shoots the Chucky doll, like a lot. And eventually he shoots him in the head. And I was like, all right, cool, the Chucky's doll dead. But he's not, because he was still like, you put a gun in me? And then he was like, "Yeah, fuck you, friend," or whatever he said. And then he stomps on his head again. We got two different head stomps in this movie, which, I'm always down for a good head stomp. Then, man, maybe my favorite part of the movie, where he turns around and Nika's there, possessed by Chucky, and like smirking. And and he's got her at gunpoint. And Chucky goes, "If you kill me, you kill her." And Andy immediately goes, "Ch-" and like he did not care at all. He was gonna shoot Chucky in the face, and I loved it. But it ends up being he's empty, and Chucky's like, "Yeah, thinking's for losers." And then they hear security coming, so Chucky's like, "You're it, pal," and he closes the door, and he leaves Andy locked in the jail. He goes outside to Jennifer Tilly. He's like, good to see you, babe. And they make out. They get in the car, and they all start laughing, including Tiffany the doll that is alive too. I guess, Jennifer Tilly's put hers.
No, he says something about how he hated that bitch or something.
It was Jennifer Tilly is like, I kind of miss Alice, the little girl. Yeah. And he's like, nah, fuck that bitch or whatever.
So I think Alice might be in the Tiffany doll.
I think Tiffany just did. Well, I know for a fact that Tiffany is in the doll because the Tiffany doll pops up in the series. But yeah, they all start laughing and they drive away. And that's where the movie ends, on that big cliffhanger where Chucky once again has won the day. And and it seemed like you wouldn't see the end of it till the Chucky series came along. And I don't think they ever explained how Andy got out of that hospital, but he did. And yeah, the weird thing is,
question.
Okay, yeah.
How did the Chucky start off being cloned? If the one Chucky was in pieces in Andy's closet.
Well, he went to the girl before that, remember?
Yes.
Yeah, so I guess he started there, and so he was inside of that girl, and then put his soul.
So then the girl started transferring him?
Yeah, I imagine she started switching her soul, or, the soul into all the Chuckies. Yeah. It's real messy. I mean, yeah, it's real messy. I was surprised with the show how they didn't really follow Nika. They had a whole new kid, and he was the series lead. Well, he still is. And basically, Chucky in the series, spoiler for the series, guys, and spoiler for you, you're not planning on watching it, I assume.
I'm going to. 2 months from now.
I don't know if you're serious, because I want to...
I'm not. Go ahead. Say whatever.
Chucky basically just murders all these people's parents. Like, none of the parents make it through... The main kid, his dad is Devon Sawa, and the main kid is gay, and so Devon Sawa's dad, who his wife's dead, is like an alcoholic, and he doesn't want his son to be gay, and he's like mean to him one night, so Chucky goes and like electrocutes him and kills him. And then he goes to stay with his uncle, who is also Devon Sawa, because Devon Sawa just plays twins. And then later on, he convinces a kid to kill Devon Sawa, so he finally gets like a kid on his side. But Nika is stuck in the body. I'll tell you about Nika, because that's who we've been watching. Nika is stuck, possessed, and she ends up like, if she hits her head, she'll wake back up and be like, what the fuck is going on? And there's a great scene where they're in a hotel room with Jennifer Tilly and they're playing poker, because of course. And she's Nika, but she's having to act like Chucky. And after a while, Tiffany is like, all right, you can give up now, Nika. I know it's you. And he's like, what are you talking about? I'm Chucky. And Jennifer Tilly's like, I stabbed you in the leg 20 minutes ago and you didn't even flinch. And I was like, oh shit. But Nika, at the end of that show, ends up with her arms and her legs just cut off. And she's just left as like a Fall Guys person in a chair. Yeah. So there you go. And she's not possessed anymore. But Jennifer Tilly keeps her around because she likes to fuck her. So that's the happy story that Nika gets. Like, when I keep saying how Nika's probably the most tragic person in Charles Lee Ray handicapped her in the womb, did all this stuff to her, and now she's left as like a tic-tac in a chair with no limbs. Yeah. So there you go. But anyway, yeah, that's it. That's the Chucky movies. Like I said, I'll eventually watch Chucky 2. Or not Chucky, or Chucky Season 2 is what I meant to say. But the budget for this movie, Tyler, was $5 million. It made $2 million from DVD and Blu-ray sales, which is the only thing it came out on.
Yikes.
Yeah, so there you go. There's
with the TV show doing well.
The TV show's doing really well. I think it was the biggest premiere in sci-fi history. Was the Chucky show. I know they've gotten 2 seasons. I think they're green lighted for a season 3. Yeah. I don't know. Like I said, I watched. You can go check out the podcast on season 1. I watched it. It's all right. It's fine. There's some stuff I like and don't like about it. There's a character in it who is super like oh my god, they're the fucking worst, and then like one thing happens to them and all of a sudden we're supposed to like forgive everything they've done, and I'm like, no. I don't I don't, I don't want to do that. But yeah, there's also the guy, the main character starts dating like this other kid, and at the end, like he's got Chucky against the wall, and he's like nah, I love him, this all this, and Chucky just goes fucking gay. And the kid like kills him or whatever. But anyway, so we'll check it out eventually. Best of, worst of, Tyler, for this one. My best of, I think my best of is gonna be, it's a toss up between, I'm gonna say my best of is gonna be the three Chuckies like joking it up at the end there. That's probably the most enjoyable time I had in the movie, was with them joking about his hair and joking about being alive for 2 minutes or whatever. That was the most. The toss up was gonna be with Andy shooting fucking Nika in the face if he still had a bullet, but no. Worst of, there's a lot of options. Yeah, I don't know. Worst of
The CGI dream.
worst
has
of,
to be
yeah,
the worst.
that's probably the worst of the CGI Chucky monster. Yeah, that's pretty bad. Yeah, that's gonna be my worst of.
The sex scene that makes no sense and they didn't need, and we have established that she wouldn't even felt.
Yeah. Tyler, what's your best of, worst of for this one?
My best of is the line that he tells the old lady who thinks she's a ghost. Wait a minute, you that crazy bitch I called the other night?
Yeah.
I loved it so much.
Yeah.
Just because, it's like a throwaway line, right?
Uh-huh.
He's like, he called me. And everyone was like, yeah, I eat shit, Brenda.
Yeah.
But, like, it was legit, like, a thing. That made me chuckle.
Yeah.
Like, I thought it was good. The worst part of this movie is the fact that the Asian lady just had no illness at all.
Yeah, they
She's just
didn't
a
really
bitch.
go into, especially as much as they explain everyone else's illness, they really didn't go into much on her. Yeah. So, yeah, that is weird. I mean, people even got multiple storylines about their
Like her
illness.
even.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, I didn't even like her as, like,
I mean, obviously
she was just
you're not gonna like her because the whole time she's like, clearly, it's this lady, but we know, that it's not. But in real life, when someone's like, yeah, this doll murder, you're like, oh, this fucking bitch, it's crazy. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I didn't like her either, but I think that's the way the movie programs it. So she probably had
but like, the villain, or like the person you're made not to like, is the lady with the baby, right? So this other lady was just over the top,
Well, I mean,
annoying for no reason.
yeah, there is also the doctor who was hypnotizing people, and yeah, that's the big twist in the middle. Which as soon as I saw him looking like Ryan Haywood, I had him pegged from the moment.
Well, like, that's the villain guy that you like to see get it, right?
Yeah.
These other
He
people
had a
were
great
just
death.
annoying.
I like a good face stomp, and he was in the feet.
I don't know. There's too much Chucky. Like, the group scene was cool. Like, it was okay. Like I said, it gave you what you wanted. It should have just had more people, less story, and then more kills, right? Like, it'd been great if at one point they take a Chucky, throw him in the laundry suit, which that nurse did. You remember he locked him in that little cage?
Yeah.
It was a throwaway scene, yeah. And then he turns around and the one standing there, and he'd be like, "What? What?" And then he gets got, but they never did anything cool like that. It was always just
No, yeah. Like I said, and I think that's why my favorite part was when the three Chuckies start talking, because I felt like there really wasn't a lot of Brad Dourif being Chucky in the movie. Like, it was more just he would say a line every now and then. And to be fair,
you boil
that
it
guy's
down,
like
it's
80.
weird because let's say you could take you and put it in another body, right?
Uh-huh.
Then you and you would know the same exact thing, right?
Yeah.
But like, would you have a connection to know what the other guy knows? So like, say you have two yous, and then tomorrow one of you starts taking like Mandarin.
Mm-hmm.
Would the you that didn't take the class know the Mandarin?
Yeah. I really don't.
Like,
I don't know, because the thing about it too, to me, that's so messy is then in the show they make it seem like the real Chucky was the Chucky that put his soul into that girl's body, and then she spread it out like parts of her soul. But you would then be like, okay, well, her soul must still be in that body. But then you never see like which doll became, like, weirdly enough, to me the real Chucky is the one that's in Andy's safe.
yeah.
And so the rest of all these Chuckies are like not the real Chucky. They're like different
They're
fragments
clones of the Chucky, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so yeah, it's weird. I don't know. It's like, yeah, I just watched all of Rick and Morty, and there's a lot of shit with clones involved with it.
Yep.
And they go super crazy with it in about the 5th season, where you don't know. And I'm watching, and at this point, I'm like, why don't? Because now I'm like, I don't know if these are even the real people. Like, they could be fucking clones for all I know. So you kind of lose your attachment to them because you're like, well, whatever. But yeah, yeah.
Adventure.
What's that? You broke up at the first part.
Did you enjoy the Rick and Morty adventure?
Yeah, I would say I did. Yeah, like
It's pretty
season.
good. Like those first 3 seasons are good.
Well, yeah, season 3. To be fair, season 3 comes after season 2, which I think is the superior season. It was great. Yeah, yeah, and season 3, season 2 also. I didn't know how early on that whole Rick turned himself into the police with the 9 Inch Nails song in the background happened. Like, that's season 2. I was like, oh shit. Yeah. Yeah, and then season 3, there was just a lot. That's when the show like really takes off with Pickle Rick and Szechuan and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But I didn't like it. Season 4 has a lot of really good moments. I really like season 4, and then season 5, kind of they just went. I didn't care. There were some episodes where it went so long and it got so absurd that I was like, I don't know. One of them involves like just a bunch of clones. And like Rick has it set up that when a clone family gets killed, he knows someone's after them. But it just ends up they don't know they're clones, so then they get killed, and it's a Rick clone
And it's all
war.
these, yeah.
Yeah, and yeah,
It's crazy.
by the
And you end up having the wooden clones.
the wooden clones, yeah, yeah, and the wooden Jerry is like, why can't I die? When he's like, yeah,
Doesn't he try to escape with all the shellac or something?
Yeah.
Like it's,
yeah,
but yeah, it's
Yeah.
good stuff.
yeah. So, yeah, I like that.
Did you see the one with Mr. Jellybean where he tries to molest Morty in the bathroom? It's
Yeah.
when they go on an adventure.
Yeah, and then they kill him, and later at the end, like, someone shows the evidence of, like, stuff on his Google, and the guy's like, don't tell anyone. Let's just let it be what he represented, not who he really was. It was like, that's really fucking dark. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, he's like escaping, right? They're like getting away, and he's like, "No, I'm done. And Rick like sees the Jellybean guy come out of the bathroom.
Yeah.
He's like, "Okay," and they walk out, and then the gun just comes out, and it's like,
Yeah.
and just explodes.
Yeah.
King Jellybean or whatever. King Jellybean was voiced by SpongeBob.
Tom, yeah, that's my favorite part about watching Rick and Morty. Tom Kenny, who voices SpongeBob, is everywhere in that show. He voices Mr. Poopy Butthole. He voices
I love Mr.
yeah,
Poopy.
he voices Squanch or whatever, the cat who he was squanching and he's like jerking off in a closet, hanging himself.
I'm squanching here.
Yeah, he voices so many people, and I loved him. A fun fact that I learned after watching Rick and Morty, I just watched Krampus like 2 weeks ago for the Christmas episode, and there's a part where these gingerbread men are running around getting burned up. I found out that Justin Roiland does the voice of the gingerbread men who are running around getting burned up because he's friends with the guy who made Krampus. So, yeah.
Kind of mad that you didn't invite me to watch Krampus.
Yeah. It was good. It was really good.
Was it?
It was, yeah, it was actually really good. Yeah. But anyway, let's see. I'm gonna you can't. I'm gonna go through mine first. Maybe if you want to do yours as well. Since the next movie is the remake, I'm not gonna count it on I'm not gonna count it on the top. I'm gonna go the actual Chucky list of my top one. So in last place, Tyler, the worst Chucky movie we watched is Bride of Chucky. That's what I think is the worst movie. After that,
Seed of Chucky.
After that is Cult of Chucky for me. This one.
Really, you putting Seed with the one with the.
Mm-hmm. After
Anyways.
that is gonna be Seed of Chucky. That comes after Cult. After Seed, I'm gonna go Curse of Chucky. Yeah. I'm gonna go Curse of Chucky, and then I'm gonna go Child's Play 2, and then I'm gonna go Child's Play 1, and then I'm gonna go Child's Play 3. The Military Academy is my favorite Child's Play movie out of the series. Tyler, you don't have to make a whole. What was your favorite and least favorite Chucky movie that we watched? Well, you said Seed was your least
Seed
favorite.
is by far the worst fucking one.
Yeah.
Like it was so bad. Anything with Jennifer Tilly in it was pretty bad. I just not a fan.
Mm-hmm.
I think 1 and 2, it's kind of a mix up between which one was the best.
Yeah.
But I mean, 1 is good if you haven't seen anything, but the second one is better if you've seen some Chucky stuff, because it's like it doesn't try to. The whole reveal is the evil doll, right?
Yeah, Chucky, he's like in the shit.
Yeah.
How's it hanging, Phil?
God damn.
Yep. All right, so is that what you're going? Child's Play 2 was your top
Yeah,
of the
2
food
is the
chain.
best, and I want to say this one's probably second.
God damn.
And then I'll go 1 just because it's just a classic horror movie, and then the rest are just. So 3 is not bad.
3 is
I'll
amazing.
put also. So I'm gonna go 2, 1, 3. This one, Seed and Bride. No, Bride and then Seed. Seed being the worst one.
Yeah. All right.
3 isn't bad. It's just horrible acting, right? Like it's just.
Yeah. But Chucky's gonna be a bro in that one. That's also when he calls Andy a wimp.
Yep.
Anyway, all right. Well, that's the end of that Child's Play thing. Next week, the last Child's Play movie, which is the remake.
Next week, though. I don't know, that's a little
I know.
presumptuous.
Well, I was gonna say next week, maybe, but I like to put it out in the world that it'll be next week. But yeah,
maybe because this isn't going to come out till Friday, right? So
Friday,
it gives us like 6 days.
I totally forgot you were right. Yeah, this is for Friday, so we got plenty of time. We can do it.
Yeah, so we get another one done.
Yeah. So yeah, Child's Play, the remake version that has no involvement with the people who've made the previous 7 or however many we watched. Mark Hamill voices Chucky in it, but have you ever watched the remake? Is this gonna be your first time?
Yes.
Okay, that's good. This will be my second time watching it. Yeah, he's more like a robotic sound. Like I don't think they took full advantage of a Mark Hamill voice over, like I don't know, but anyway, you'll see what I'm talking about. But yeah, Mark Hamill voices him. Aubrey Plaza's in it, and I don't remember the kid who is the lead actor. I don't know if he's been in anything since then. And I'm pretty sure that the TSA agent who was, from Get Out, the friend, I'm pretty sure he's in it as well. I think he plays like the neighbor, or it's somebody I know, but I can't remember who it is. But yeah, so that'll be next week, and we'll be done with Chucky, and then we can watch a bunch of bullshit that's coming out. We'll probably end up watching Smile, because I think we want to watch that, and then the next after Smile will probably be Pearl. There's like a couple we want to catch up on that we wanted to watch, and I think Pearl will be out at that point for us to watch as well. I wanted to point out real fast, for Christmas I got these air fresheners. It's there you go, got Michael.
I have one for my car.
Yeah, we got. You want the Leatherface?
Oh, you know which one I want. Come on.
There's the Leatherface. Here's a little Voorhees. And
I mean,
then,
he's not little. He's the biggest one out of all of them. So
yeah, he's
far.
pretty chunky boy. And then we got little Freddy Krueger licking a finger. Pussy.
That's a little
Yeah.
I
don't know what they smell like. I don't know if they all have different scents. I don't know.
well,
Yeah. Also, speaking of Jason, I just like showing up right up here. Is the Jason bobblehead I told you about, Tyler, the Kane Hodder sign, but it's a Freddy versus Jason bobblehead, which I was like, he's not even in that movie. They made him sign the Jason he's not even in, but whatever. And then over here also for Christmas, that's like a light up Jason mask that I turn on at night.
You turn on every night?
I do. I have. Yeah, I've turned it on every night. So.
What's wrong with you? Why would you turn that on every day?
Hey, it looks cool, man, because it's all silhouette and the eyes are all black. Anyway, next week, Child's Play, the remake. And, yeah. Tyler, anything you'd like to add before we get out of here?
No. Stay tuned for Resident Evil Chapter 2.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know what you're calling them. You stop.
All right. Thanks for watching. See you guys next week.
See you.